Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Guest List podcast. I am your host, Steve Guest. For all of you that haven't listened to an episode of this podcast before, this podcast was born out of the success of my first book, Top Biller, The Life of a Recruiter. And it was at a time where I was getting lots of messages, lots of questions, lots of contact where people had question scenarios and various things that they wanted answered. And I couldn't get back to them all. So I thought, what better way or what better process than to create a podcast, get far more intelligent and interesting people on and get them talking and answering the questions. And that is where the podcast has been born out of. Today's guest I've known for a number of years. Really looking forward to getting to chat to her. As always, I'm going to run through the quick bio and we'll get speaking. So, do you ever feel overwhelmed by where to start? Has success ever felt out of reach? Today's guest felt the same at the end of 2015. After getting married in September 2015, today's guest took stock on life and realised that she was not where she needed, wanted or deserved to be. Having built up around £60,000 of debt since starting university through poor money management, today's guest needed to make a change. Needed a strategy to bring in sustainable cash flow that would give financial independence and clear the debt. So at that point, today's guest launched her property business that focused on startup investment models that need little savings to start. Just 6 weeks after making that decision in 2015, she landed her first deal worth £56,000 in net profit and has never looked back. And she built over £100,000 in her first full year of trading in 2016. Today's guest is a self-diagnosed sales and marketing geek and truly believes that in business, we get paid as a consequence of doing the best job possible for our clients. Since 2015, she has built a mixed strategy property portfolio that has made her financially free, working on development projects, new builds, buy-to-lets, rent-to-rents, HMOs, serviced accommodation, and other exciting projects, all for the love of property and the results that grow every day. She has built a reputation as being accessible and supportive to those she works with and trains. And I'd like to offer a huge warm welcome to Sarah Poynton-Ryan.
Hey, thank you for having me. But listening to that has made me all emotional. Like I forget just how much has happened since I decided to start doing all this craziness that is my life. But
yeah, I mean, 7 years. I mean, I think we first met probably 2017, 18 maybe.
Yeah, around then I think so. Yeah.
I think that's when I first started getting into property, and I know we crossed paths there through various networking and meetings. I think I attended one of your day seminars as well. So how's life at the moment? What's happening?
Oh, it's crazy. I'm just recovering from COVID. So I had COVID last week before. I went to France and I think I picked it up there. But other than that, actually life is great. I feel incredibly grateful with everything that's going on in my world right now. It's busy. Business is hard, business is work, but it's all very satisfying, fulfilling stuff that I'm up to now. Yeah, it's good fun.
And you're a true grafter as well, aren't you? I don't think you ever, from watching you from afar and knowing you and having had the conversations, you don't stop.
I think someone said to me a long time ago, when you just enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And I can honestly say that I get up every day and, you know, some days I want to like throw my laptop at the wall and strangle people. Definitely does happen.
You are human.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely am. But most of the time I just feel satisfied with what I'm doing. And so it doesn't, although yes, I do consistently want and strive to grow the business. I've got visions in my life of what I want it to look like. I don't feel like, I think people think I work harder than I actually do, because actually every day I just wake up and do what it is that I love to do, and I feel like I'm playing most of the time. So I feel like I found the thing that is that balance of working but enjoying it at the same time. Yeah.
You say all that, and I know you say it tongue-in-cheek with a smile and everything else, but you are relentless. You do work hard.
Yeah, I do work hard.
Where do you think that comes from? Where does that kind of innate ability to just get up and take action come from?
I think in my life, since I was young, I've been hit by fairly big what is the word that I want? Things that have impacted me quite a lot, in terms of quite emotional stuff that's happened to me when I was younger, things that have molded who I was as a human being, if you like. And those things just made me pretty thick-skinned. So as an adult now, I'm pretty resilient. Like, I can just get on with it. It doesn't matter. Like, there's, you know, like everybody in business, I've been hit by the curveballs. I've lost money. I've made bad decisions. I've worked with the wrong people. There's been things that I've done that have absolutely not been the right choices. And I've not always been gracious in those moments at the time. And then I've looked back and gone, God, I should never have said that. I should never have done that. That wasn't the right move.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've learned to do is actually, do you know what? It is what it is. You are where you are. And you can either dwell on it and let it consume you, or you can just suck it up and get on with it. And I think that resilience is probably what I do really well. I think I work as hard as a lot of other people, but what I'm great at is being able to consider it from a business place and a rational place rather than a very emotional place. Yeah. And I've learned to do that over time. And so I guess I've carved out the ability to take it on the chin, accept stuff when it goes wrong, and understand that. And I often ask this question, will this matter 5 years from now? If it won't matter 5 years from now, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. And that actually is a bit of a mantra for me. Like, I say it all the time. And it comes from, I guess, that work ethic, that resilience, that inability to stop because I do want more, comes from my upbringing. It comes from me being young, and it comes from me seeing the life that I could have versus the life that I want to have, the life that maybe other people have, and thinking, what I want, I have to go out and get it because no one's going to bring it to me.
Yeah. And it's so fundamental, isn't it? I think I live by the mantra that it's 100% your fault, whether it's good or bad.
It might not be my fault, but it's 100% my responsibility. Yeah. That is something that we say all the time.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might not be my actual fault, but because I'm in the situation I'm in, could I have done anything different to have stopped it, changed it, improved it? So it's still my fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
How I react to it. I love that though. So if we go back to, obviously your bio talks about bad money management and a rather large debt hanging over you. What was the kind of the moment there, other than the debt, that overwhelming, I imagine, consuming feeling of, oh my God, what do I do? What kind of got you out of that? What was that moment?
So there's quite a pivotal point I remember, and that Andy and I got married in 2015, and we went away for a week after we got married, like most people do, bit of a honeymoon, and we went to Colchester because we couldn't afford anything else. And most people talk about the Maldives, Jamaica, like Goa, all these places, and there was us in a cottage in Colchester. And don't get me wrong, I was grateful and I loved it and I had a great time and we had a really, really good week. But we just kept talking about, like, what's next for us. Are we gonna have a baby? Are we gonna buy a house? Are we gonna get a dog? Like, what are the things we want to do in our life? Like most married couples, I assume that's what most people do on their honeymoon. What does the next chapter look like? And every single conversation just kept coming back to, well, that'd be great, but we've got no money. That'd be great, but we've got no money. That'd be great, but we've got no money. And I honestly just reached a point where I was like, this is not going to be my life.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's not how I want to live. I've worked hard. I've always worked hard. I've had a job since my 15th birthday. I actually got my first job on my 15th birthday. JD Sports, loved it.
Cool. Yeah.
And I've worked every day since. I've never not worked. And so I was really frustrated with my life because I worked hard. I had a business. It was just a failing business. And because I didn't know how to run a business at that time, and I was young and I was spending more than I was making, I was generally just pissing out the wall most of the time, just out at the weekends and living a youthful life. I never realized that when you borrow money on a credit card, you have to pay it back. And I know that sounds stupid now. Now I say it and I'm like, of course you have to pay it back. No one ever really taught me that. No one ever really sat me down and said, you see that 20 grand that you're putting onto credit cards over a course of a year, so you could buy tickets to gigs and whatever else I was doing with it. How are you going to pay it back? And I never really thought about it. So when we got to getting married, we were looking at our life and I was like, I can't carry on. It can't carry on like this. So I've been on loads of different webinars because I've always been really interested in business. I've always been really interested in, I've been surrounded by business people my whole life. Like I know lots of business people. My family have been in business. My granddad and my nan were really successful in business. So I've seen it. I just didn't know how to do it. And I've been on lots of webinars like 2014 time about property, investing, this sort of stuff. Did nothing about it because I guess like most people, I didn't really know what action to take. I didn't really know how to implement what I was learning. And then in 2015 when I got married, I was like, that's it, I'm done now messing around. And I came back from that week away in Colchester and decided that I was going to launch a rent-to-rent company. So I just started picking up the phone and speaking to agents. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just had listened to some webinars and I just started winging it. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, they've said yes. And I had this flat.
What do I do now?
And I was like, what do I do now? And honestly, I just figured it out from there. And, you know, it took a lot of hard work. But it was that kind of that moment, if you like, in time that I remember thinking, this can't possibly be the rest of my life. Something's got to do, I've got to do something differently. And clearly my work ethic isn't enough. The fact that I worked hard wasn't enough. It was working hard combined with good choices, combined with good money management, combined with education around how money works, combined with being able to ask for help. That's the thing that had to happen, because I could outwork anybody. I really, really actually can outgraft anybody I know. But what I didn't have was the knowledge to put that work into sensible places. I was just trading my time for money. I was doing a job basically, and what I needed to do was put it into sensible, making sure that time was being maximized, and that was the difference. It kind of shifted at that point. I went from having a business that was failing and it could have made me bankrupt, to having a business that was making me profit almost overnight, and I put my hard work into that, and it changed everything.
Did you, at the time as well, did you start surrounding yourself with different people?
Very much so. Yeah, I think end of 2015, I got my first mentor, and it wasn't a mentor that I paid for because I just didn't have any money. It was someone that I agreed to do a bit of a joint venture type deal with. So I agreed to give him 50% of my profit while he was working with me, and we actually ended up doing lots of stuff together. I think in my first 12 months I paid him £50,000. So he was the most expensive mentor of all time for a fledgling business.
Yeah.
But it's because I made 100 grand. And actually, when you look at that in your first year, from having £60,000 of debt to being able to build a business, live, pay down your debt, actually, I'd have paid him loads more.
It's the best money well spent, isn't it?
It was the best spent money I've ever had. I mean, ever since, I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on mentors since. And every time I want to level up, I need to go for a bigger, more expensive level, and we go on retreats and we do conferences and we do all the different things. And I think for me, surrounding myself with different people made a huge difference. I'm still friends with most of the people that I was friends with when I started. They don't care what I do. They're not really interested in what I do, as long as I'm still Sarah to them. But I've now got friends who get it. They're in business. They're trying to launch businesses. They understand the bumps in the road that come.
It's not easy, is it?
Sometimes I've got more wrinkles than others. The way that it works, and it's lovely to be surrounded by those people, because without those people in my life right now, I definitely would have jacked it in a long time ago. There's been periods of business where I'm like, I'm just going to go back and get a job. I've said it off, and we've not mentioned yet, but I'm an ex-recruiter. So I say
we were getting to that.
Yeah, I'm going to jack it all in and go back to recruitment. I say it, and then my business partners are like, no, you're not, Sarah. There's no way.
Don't you
just
dare.
Couldn't do it now. Yeah.
So while we've touched on it, talk to me about recruitment then. What happened with your journey there?
So I started in recruitment in 2008. And as you know, there was a big massive crash in 2008. So I became a perms consultant, junior perms consultant for one of the biggest global recruitment brands in the world. And I was dealing with commercial, like sales, HR, customer service, these sorts of roles. And that's what I recruited. I loved it. Like, I really did love it. And I was really bloody good at it. And 2008, even with the crash, even with everything else that was going on in the market, I was still like one of the top billing consultants in the business. I just loved it. I loved the chase. I loved the thrill of getting a job on, finding a person. What I hated was all the admin that goes with it, and the like CV editing and absolutely. I wanted the deals. I wanted to do all of the like fast-paced stuff. And I then kind of evolved into more of a senior consultant. I had team, I had resources, etc. And then I started working on contracts like winning bigger contracts. Like Santander was one of our clients, and I worked on the acquisition team for that to be able to bring the client on. And then I ran a perms desk and a temp desk, 200 head temp desk for Santander at one point. The payroll that goes with that, and the admin and the CVs and the interview planning and all of that. I did all of those things. And it was around that sort of time that I asked my boss for more money. And I was like, you know, I think I was on 19 grand a year at that point, plus my commission. I was like, well, now I'm thinking that is not a lot of money. But at the time, for me, I was young and it was a lot of money. Like, and it was just about paying everything. And I said, I want more money or I'm leaving. And that was I went in really tough. Like, I want more money. And they basically just said, everyone's replaceable. Off we go. And I was like,
what?
Shit. That I wasn't expecting that response. I genuinely thought I had more value in that role. And what I learned in that moment was a really good life lesson for me, is that everybody's replaceable. And especially when you're in a job, but even in business, like, everybody is replaceable. You have to do an exceptional job all the time, and you have to be able to demonstrate the value that you bring at all times, right? So because I'd said, unless you pay me money, I'm leaving, and I'm not very good at not doing what I said I was going to do, I started looking for another job. So I then got another job. Then on my last day in this particular company, they came to me and said, we'll give you your own branch if you stay. And by then it was too late. I'd accepted the job. Like, I'd felt really, really disappointed, because I honestly thought I would stay with that company forever. I was going to work my way up and become the MD. That was, like, in my mind, that was what I was doing. My career was set. I loved it. So then I moved companies, and I set up another desk, and I set up another business for somebody else. And I thought, like, that went really well. We made money. And then I got bored, and I did it again for another company, and I set it up and I launched it and we made money. And then I realized it wasn't that I wanted more money. It's that actually the things I was falling out of love with recruitment were that my bonus was relying on other people's work ethic, not my own. It was relying on whether they turned up to work, whether those temps turned up, whether that perms consultant actually did their job for the first 3 months, or whether I had to credit, and all of that used to really get on my nerves. So I just fell out of love with it. I really, really did love recruitment to start with. And the thing that I found really interesting about property when I got into property was that deal packaging and portfolio building, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's where you as a consultant work for an investor to build their portfolio based on a spec that they give you. It was so much like recruitment, because I had an investor, like having a job, and then I had properties that matched that investor's spec, like a candidate. And all I did for the first year was just start to match houses with people, just like I did in recruitment. And I was really good at it again. And so, I kind of transitioned over. There was a piece in the middle where I launched another company, and it was just terrible because I didn't know what I was doing. And that's why I got in loads of debt. But the similarities between property and recruitment were really, really close. And I think that's why I loved it to start with. It pays better than recruitment ever paid me. But the workload actually and the process of it is very, very similar.
I can see the similarities, deal packaging and recruitment, two ends of a process that you can put together. I suppose the added bonus with the deal packaging side is the bricks and mortar will definitely turn up on Monday. You've got potentially only unreliable source.
They're not going to accept a counter offer. They're not going to.
Well, that's it. They are what they are.
Absolutely,
And the transition then. So that was what, 2014, 15? You left recruitment, and then it wasn't too long.
So I left recruitment in 2012. No, 2013. I left recruitment. I started. I was falling out of love with it for a little while, and I in 2012, I used to do photography. I'm actually quite a good photographer. I used to do light painting. Not a lot of people know that about me, because I don't talk about it ever now, because I don't really do it anymore. And I launched a photography business in 2012. And I used to hire photo booths out to like weddings and events and corporates and stuff like that. And I built that business up to a point where it had enough revenue and I was making enough money that I could quit recruitment. So that was like 2013. So the first year I built it, left my job, was just running my company, and I just didn't know how to run a company. I didn't know the business bit. I could sell stuff all day long. That was not an issue. But then it was budgeting and tax planning and financial management, and, you know, what to invest in terms of marketing and technology and all the things. And the market of the photo booth technology just moved on really, really quickly. So when I was making loads of money in 2013, by the end of 2014, we were making none. Because I just hadn't kept up with running the company. And that's where the debt all started to come in, and I had to shift.
Yeah. So you went from there and you did your first rent to rent.
I did.
And now, I mean, talk to me about everything that you do now. So you've gone from a rent to rent deal that was a part of a joint venture.
Yeah.
And now, to this day, what areas do you have? Because you have several businesses, you have several kind of feathers to the boat, don't you?
I do. And I have an amazing team that help me hold it all together. So I call them my glue, right? And I definitely wouldn't be able to do it all without them. I'm not out here doing all these things by myself. But yeah, now I still build portfolios. We still work with investors, but we do it on a slightly different level. We do like big and quite expensive portfolios now instead of single buy-to-lets. I've got my own buy-to-let portfolio of houses that I own that we rent out. I do single lets. I'm not a big fan of HMOs. I like sexy single lets. They're easy for me. I launched an investment fund last year to help women to understand in hands-off and passive investing in a better way. It is a fund for women, because I believe that a lot of women let their partners invest on their behalf. They don't realise that financial independence should be like a joint thing. We should all have financial independence, not necessarily being part of something else, someone else's investment. So we launched that last year, and that's really exciting. I love that because it's something I believe in as well. I have a lettings company that I own that manages landlords' portfolios across Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire. So if there are any landlords listening, we do that. We can help you with that. And then I have a training company that educates people on how to do what it is that I do and what we've done over the last 6 years, how to create your own business, launch it, scale it. And then I'm also have a development company. So we build houses, renovate houses, turn them into new, beautiful houses. And there's probably some other things in there that I do, but I forgot about. But they're the main ones.
That is a colossal amount. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, people say to me, how do you fit it in? And I'm nowhere near that sort of level. And,
I say, I have an amazing team.
Yeah.
Like I really do. And I have an amazing team and a very patient husband. I couldn't do the things that I do without them. Because whilst I lead, and I'm definitely the fuel behind it, and I'm the visionary, and I know what I want, there's lots of things that we as a business do that I couldn't do myself. You know, I've got an appraisal team, we've got a project delivery team, we've got coaches that help our students, we've got everything that we do. Whilst the idea and the flame kind of ignites from me, we as a team have to collectively deliver it. And I absolutely couldn't do it without them. I think I definitely have moments of clarity where I think, crikey, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing all this crazy stuff all at the same time? And then I remember that the reason that I love business is to create. And it's not really about the money for me. It was when I started, it absolutely was about the money. And I don't think there's any shame in saying I do business because I love money. That's absolutely fine. But for me now, it's about, there's a curiosity about whether I can, whether actually I'm capable, and I like to kind of test my own limits a little bit, and I still haven't reached my limit, so I'll just keep going. But also I think if you can, then do. And for me, it's fun. I think the second I stop enjoying it, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are days where I want to quit and go back to recruitment, but for as long as I enjoy it, I'll carry on working at this capacity. And who knows what's coming, right? Who knows where we'll end up? Maybe I'll have children one day. Maybe we'll move abroad one day. I don't know what's coming. And so I think while I can, and while I've got the time and the energy and the enjoyment, then why not?
Yeah. I'm completely on board with that. And do you know what I love? I love the fact that you talk about the can do, and it's the attitude to take action. Knowing you as well, you're not frightened of something not working or not achieving its potential, because you know you can get up and have another go, or you can change direction and do something slightly different or add something new too. I
think as I've got older, when I was younger, I definitely did care about this, but as I've got older, I care less. And that is other people's judgment. Like, I actually don't care what people in the stands think about me and my moves that I'm making on the field.
Yeah. That will never work, Sarah. Don't do that.
Because they're not on the field playing the game.
Yeah.
They're in the stands looking and shouting at me. It's like going to a football game, isn't it? And you've got all the guys but they're not playing the game. They're going, oh, pass the ball.
Yeah.
But they're not on the field under the pressure of playing the game.
Yeah.
And so for me, I care about what I'm doing on the field and how I'm contributing to the other people on the field. And I've learned really to have quite thick skin around the judgment of the people in the stands. Yeah. And I think as I've got older and as things have totally gone wrong, right, and I can't, when things go wrong, I'm happy. I'd share it publicly on socials. Like, I'm happy to say, this didn't go right. We lost money. We did this. The mistakes were made. I made the wrong choice. I said the wrong thing. I'm human at the end of the day. And actually, I accept that it won't always go to plan. And when you accept that and you stop worrying about the judgment of people's opinions from the stands, and you just do you just concentrate on doing the best you can with what you've got in that moment, you can't ask for any more. And I think that's where my resilience, I guess, sits, is that, all right, I lost money, but at least I tried. And now I've got the knowledge, I'll do it again and I won't lose money. Yeah. And that for me is a really exciting place to be.
That's huge. And I think certainly for a lot of the listeners, and I talk to a lot of recruiters through accountability sessions, and it can be down to the smallest thing as putting a post out on LinkedIn. People are worried about the judgment. You're talking like there's extra zeros on the back end of some of the things you're doing, and that carries a huge weight, more so than adding a post on LinkedIn on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I mean, like this week, I got a loan agreement through from a lender for £3 million. £3 million. Now, if you'd have told me 6 years ago that I'd have been borrowing £3 million for a project, I'd have been terrified. And I'm not going to lie to you, I feel a little bit like, oh, crikey, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
My emotions, I am good at going, all right, but you know that it's a good deal, you've done your research, the due diligence is there, you've followed all the steps, you're doing all the right things, and it's secured against the asset anyway. So the worst case scenario is they take the asset. I'm not going to drop dead. No one's going to die. My family aren't going to be hurt. Nothing, money's just money.
Money's a flow, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it. And do you know what? If I lost it all tomorrow, touch wood, I don't, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm still in a position that I could start again with all the knowledge that I've got. And so why not give it a whirl? Because what if it works? And that for me is like, what if it goes well?
That's actually made me feel nervous. It's quality though. That is quite so. Okay, so we touched on there in terms of mistakes. What would you say has perhaps been the defining mistake, or something that you've tried and it just didn't work, but actually it's given you the impetus to either do something or change something? If we've already discussed it, that's fine. But if there's something that we haven't,
no, I think there's loads of different mistakes. One is I've worked with the wrong people. That's definitely, I've chosen to work with the wrong people at points and didn't do my due diligence on those people before I jumped into business relationships with them. And that's been difficult, because when business relationships go wrong, it's expensive. And so there's that. But actually, I think if I look at the last 6 years, the thing that stands out for me the most, I learned the most about myself from, is 2019. My training company used to do like a mastermind program, where it was quite high investment, and we would work with people for a year to be able to build their business. And the format that it was in, I wasn't enjoying it, and I wasn't enjoying it. The clients were getting results, and we were doing what we should do.
Yeah.
But me personally, the pressure I didn't enjoy, the entitlement of other people, and the lack of boundaries that people have when they're paid you money, things like that. For me, it just really, really didn't sit well. We went from having a business that was generating on some months like £80,000 a month, and I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore because mentally, physically, emotionally, it was ruining who I was as a person.
Okay.
I was losing myself because of money. And for me, I let that go on too long. I should, and I think there's probably a naivety in business actually. I didn't know that I could just say, I don't want to do this anymore. I was scared of judgment from others. I was scared that actually if I changed my mind, that people would say, oh, well, you failed. And it wasn't that. It's just I needed to do it in a different way. So 2020 happened, forced me to change the format because of COVID. We had to come away from events and move on to online. So we just changed the whole thing. And I love it now. I love it because it's in a format that I enjoy. It's the amount of time that I want to commit to it. I've got the time to do it. People's boundaries are way more respected when you're online rather than like ringing me. I used to get phone calls at like 2 a.m. sometimes from people. I'm working on this now and I expect you to respond to me. And I couldn't understand how people think that was all right, but they did.
Okay.
So I think that mistake is that I wasn't decisive enough, fast enough to make a change when I knew I should make the change. I knew it wasn't working for me for a long time. And I allowed that to get into me rather than just say, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's fix it. And I think a lot of people have this problem in business is they stick at something because their ego gets in the way, that if they change it, they have to admit that they got it wrong. They have to admit that they recruited the wrong person, or they have to admit that they worked with the wrong person, or they did the wrong deal, or, they made a mistake. We allow our egos to get in the way of being decisive. And actually, when you lead a company, you can't do that. You have to be quick and decisive. And so that I learned a really good lesson. I learned about myself that you absolutely can change your mind. That's fine. There's nothing that's set in stone forever. And even if you enjoy it, if you one day wake up and don't enjoy it anymore, just be decisive and change it. And that's okay.
That's a really good statement as well, because I know there's many a person that I speak to, and you almost get stuck in a wheel of motion where you just feel you just got to carry on because you're scared of what's change brings, or you're scared of the fact that, well, what if I just take my foot off? And people don't.
What if
of repercussions?
What will other people say? What will
definitely.
I've made this big song and dance about the fact I want to invest. Well, I've changed my mind. Now I want to go back to having a job. All right. It's your life, and we only get one of them.
100%. So
don't waste your time doing things that your ego is stopping you from doing because you're worried about what other people might think that you might. Because what if it goes right?
Exactly.
What if that change is exactly what you need? What if that change brings on the bank balance that you want, the body that you want, the lifestyle you want, the relationship you want? What if making that change is exactly the right change, but you're putting it off because what will people say? It's mental. And I think for me, that taught me a lot. It taught me, it was definitely my biggest ongoing mistake. And it helped me just to be more confident in making decisive moves.
So talk to me about, we mentioned it earlier about having the right people around you. Who would you say has perhaps had the biggest influence? So this can be books that you've read, it could be YouTube videos you watch, or TED Talks, it could be people, mentors, coaches. Who have, if you were to name, I don't know, 2 or 3 people around you that have allowed you or given you the impetus? So
I think in terms of, I absolutely think everybody should read The One Thing by Gary Keller. That book is just one of the best books in that ever written.
I haven't read that. The One Thing by Gary Keller.
The One Thing by Gary Keller. And basically what it talks about is that you can't multitask. We think we can. Women think that we can. Men never could anyway. We know this, right? But women think we can multitask. We all think we can do more than one thing at a time. But actually, we can't. You can't give more than one thing 100% attention at any one time. If you're doing 2 things, it could be 70-30, it could be 50-50, but it's never 100% on both. So what this book talks about is how you can really drill down into what is the one thing you can be doing in this moment right now today to keep you on the path of where you want to be, so that you can learn to stop just moving paper around your table and being busy for the sake of being busy, and actually make decisive moves that are getting you moving the needle to where you want to be. I think being in business, it's really easy to get consumed by minutiae of stuff, because there's always stuff to do, there's always something to do. But actually, is that stuff working? Like if you're just sitting refreshing your inbox 12 times a day, well, rather than picking up the phone and making a call to a new client, a new prospect, booking a coffee, whatever it might be, or, you know, whatever it is, the one thing you can be doing in this moment today that's going to get you to where you want to be, that book it gives you the tactics to be able to bring yourself back to what is the one thing that I really want to be doing. So it's a really good book. I think my husband's definitely a big part of this, because without him being patient and understanding of the fact that, you know, I've got this idea that I want to create a life for us and the way that I want my life to be, and actually I'm not happy to settle, and I'm just not happy with it yet. It's not enough for me yet. He's definitely a big part of, I wouldn't be able to do it without him. I've had lots and lots of different mentors. Some have been great, some have been shit. Like, if I'm really honest, I've definitely spent money on mentors that have let me down. But honestly as well, my girlfriends are a big part of my success, because they are my biggest cheerleaders. And it doesn't matter what I'm about to do, what crazy plan I'm trying to hatch, they just tell me that I'm not mental and I absolutely can do it. And if it's what I want to try, then why not give it a go? And actually, when things go wrong, they're there. I can cry on their shoulder. They pick me up and put me back together again. I think I'm really grateful and lucky that I'm surrounded by absolute powerhouse women. And some of them are in business, some of them aren't in business, but they're just incredible. They're sensible. They give me great advice. And you know, if you don't have those people around you, not everybody's, I'm super lucky to have that. If you don't have those people around you, then putting yourselves in rooms of people that are similar to you and what you're trying to do, or, you know, running businesses ahead of where you are, go and just hang out in those places, because you will inevitably make friends with those people, because they get it. And there isn't one person that I can say, oh, this person changed my life. There isn't. There's a combination. Like I say, I'm one piece. The glue that holds me together, there's loads and loads of different people that influence my every single move. And without those people, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So
you've led us quite nicely on there, because we were talking off air before the podcast about something that's happening in September.
Yes.
What have you got happening
Our retreat.
in September?
So Cogito Wealth, which is my training company, we concentrate on investing, business and property. They're kind of the key topics of conversation that we as a training company deliver. We do in different forms. We have training events, we have seminars, all different things. However, we have an annual retreat which happens in September, and it's front of mind at the moment because we've just launched our website today for the 2022 retreat. We did it in 2021, we did it in 2019, we've done a couple before, and I'm so excited about it. We've got there's a couple of places left on it, because most people from last year have rebooked, but we do have a few places left on it. And we're taking 14 businesses, all different types of businesses. We've got some property, some construction, some coaching companies, some product-based businesses, all different types of businesses. 14 companies, to Ibiza, which is one of my favorite places in the world anyway. We've got 4 mentors. So there's myself, my business partner Emma, Chris Taylor, who's another business partner of mine in a slightly different part of the business, and then Mark Wright, who is he won The Apprentice in 2014. He's business partners with Alan Sugar. He's got a company called Climb Online. Us 4 as a team of mentors will be working with those 14 businesses to help them come up with their strategic growth plan for the following 12 months. I'm really, really excited about it because I see the results of what's happened from last year's. One of our clients came thinking she wanted to buy a house. She's now building a house. Another client came with the intention of doing 5 million. She's now like over 10 million. She's done in the last 9 months. We've got some startup businesses coming as well who are like in their first 12 months and have gone from 0 to 100 grand just off of what they've implemented from September. It's such a nice mix of businesses and business types and human beings, but we get to do business and strategic planning in the sun with incredible people. We've got a private chef that cooks breakfast, lunch and dinner for us every day. We've got fitness and stuff. It's just an incredible experience. So yeah, that's coming up in
how many days is it?
A week. So it's the 16th to the 22nd of September.
Amazing. And I imagine over the course of that week, each business has its moment of glory where they can talk as a group and say, this is where we're at, this is what we're looking for, how do we?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got like dedicated workshops over the course of the week, which is delivered by the mentors, but then each company will also get one-to-one time with the mentors to work on their business, just like plan. Because what we don't want to do is just have a week where we have one person talking, everyone just listens for the week, because that's boring. Boring for everyone who's not like talking at that point. So the way we've structured it is we have all 4 of the mentors are doing their own sessions, and it's all work-based stuff, so implementation-based stuff, not just like listening death by PowerPoint presentations. It's actually doing the work. And then each business will sit with the mentors, so with Mark, with myself, Chris, Bema, to look at their personal plan, like their business, how what they're learning can then work for their industry and their turnover levels and their staffing levels and budgets and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an incredible experience. I've been on retreats as well. Have you ever been on a retreat, Steve?
I haven't, no. I've been invited a few times and I've never quite...
Yeah, there's something very special about being able to just immerse yourself in the future. Because when we're in our offices, when we're in business, we can think about the plans and we can set goals and we can do all those things, but we're in our office, we're surrounded by the here and the now.
The day-to-day, aren't you? You're not removed from it in any way.
Exactly that. When you go and you sit in a £5 million luxury villa and you just look at what life can be like, and you then think about what you want, you visualize what you want for your life from that place, you think bigger. And with the help of the mentors, we allow you to show how that thinking better can become a reality, because everybody's got more to give than what they see in themselves. And so it's about listening and implementing what we talk to you about. There's also like we check in with you 3 months after and 6 months after to check you're still on plan and stuff. There's a lot of like support stuff with it as well. But yeah, it's very exciting. And also it's business in Ibiza, and who doesn't love that?
To be honest, my head's whirring and I'm sat here thinking, can I tempt, because obviously my wife is a director of our recruitment business too. Whether you do something for joint directors to come out for.
We do, of course we do.
There we go.
You only pay for one, plus there's a slightly extra just to cover your food for the week, and that's the only difference. So you come as a business, not as 2 individual people. But also it's totally tax deductible because it's a business expense. Because it's so actually you come on a nice holiday, flights and everything paid for, because it's a business expense. Who doesn't want tax efficient holidays, right?
I know what my first conversation will be after this podcast.
Excellent.
So okay, so in terms of where we're at now, have we missed anything in terms of what's coming up? You've got wealth creation event.
Yeah, we've got Wealth Creation Summit on the 18th of June in Milton Keynes. So that's very much for people who want to start testing the water with investing, with, you know, if maybe you're making money in recruitment, but you want to start investing and understand how you can make that money work for you. Let's just say that was the situation. It'll be introducing you to different ways you can get into property maybe, or, you know, our investment fund is going to be there to talk to you about how trading and investment funds work. We've got a couple of different people there talking about construction and different things. And it's £95 for a ticket to come, and it's really an opportunity. I think you came to one of these back in 2018.
Yeah, it's really...
and it's an opportunity just to start meeting new people, surrounding yourself with the people that are in the space that get it, starting to just listen to what opportunities people have got, because sometimes we just don't even know what's out there until we go and put ourselves in a room full of 100 people that are doing stuff that we want to know about. And that's what the Wealth Creation Summit's all about.
It's empowering. I mean, my takeaways from that, you put yourself in a room of either successful people or people looking to be successful. And and sharing stories and thoughts and future ideals, and you're in a room where everyone's thinking the same.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, it's hugely motivating, empowering, and everything else. But actually, it starts you on a journey that can't stop.
Because once you know it, you can't not do something about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Because you're like, oh, really? Hold on, I've got 50 grand in a bank that I've saved up over years and years, and I want to do something with it, but I haven't got time to build another business. Actually, you could put that into an investment fund. You could lend that to a property deal. You know, there's all sorts of things you could do with it. But I look back and I think I just didn't even know that these opportunities were out there. Now I've got opportunities where I'm getting 20% on my money, and I don't have to do anything for it. It just goes into a project, and I sit back and let it come in. It's important that if you want to understand money and investment and business and property and these sorts of things, that you start to put yourselves in those rooms. So yeah, that's what the Wealth Creation Summit's all about.
Love it. So lots of things during this podcast, lots of value, huge amounts of interest and things to potentially inspire people. If someone's looking to come and speak to you, or they want to get in touch, where's the best place to come and find you?
So anyone on here who's on Instagram, I am Sarah Poynton is my Instagram handle. If you DM me the word Top Biller, which is obviously Steve's first book, I've got something I can send you, which is just some helpful stuff to help you understand the basics of investment. It's all free, and I can just send you the link to get you started. Right. So DM me the words Top Biller, and I will make that happen. What I'd also say is I'm on all the socials, but if you wanted to, I can send you some links, Steve, for you to put in the show notes. Yep. I'll send you my email address.
I've got them. I can put them on.
The link for the retreat, if anyone's interested in attending the retreat.
Send me that.
I'll give you the link.
Just send me
I'll
that
send you
one.
the link.
Don't send it to anyone.
I think we've got a couple of places left on it. So yeah, it's one of those. Be quick.
Yeah.
I'll get that over to you. And yeah, I mean, if you Google me, you'll find me.
Okay, cool. And the question that I always ask at the end of the podcast recordings is, if there was one single piece of advice you'd leave the listeners with, what would that be?
One piece of advice.
You can give two if you're feeling generous.
I think I would leave them with a reminder that they are enough, and they are capable, more capable than they could ever possibly imagine. And if you could see the potential in you that other people see in you, you would take more risks, and you'd put yourself out there a little bit more. And I think sometimes we get caught up with the inner narrative of what if it goes wrong? What if people judge me? What if? Try really hard to just ask yourself, what if it goes right?
Yeah.
What if this works? What if this crazy idea of mine, what if this crazy idea of launching a property company ends up making you a multimillionaire? Like, what if it does that? Imagine what that would feel like, and go on that feeling rather than the feeling of what if it goes wrong. Because when you do, you feel more brave. And when you're brave, you make quicker decisions.
Yeah, I love that. Get out your comfort zone and go and do something.
Yeah.
I love it. Sarah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.